My name is Renee, and I first met cancer when I was 18. I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. The ripple effects are still felt, both emotionally and physically and financially. And I can honestly say that I didn't start to cope and deal with my leukemia until I got breast cancer. They told me, like I said, from the time that I was diagnosed, that the treatment that you need to have will cause infertility. And I remember asking them right away, well, how do we save my fertility? And they told me flat out, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time to do what we need to do to save your fertility options. And in 2002, they really didn't have the science backing it too much either. And it was hard to process. And it was like that for 11 years. For 11 years, I asked everybody. I researched what tests we could do. I did everything possible. And for 11 years, the answers were always, there's nothing. It's not happening. It had been 10 years since my transplant. So the doctors wanted to do like a full panel testing on me. So they wanted me off of all of my hormone control medications, because after going through all of that, my body went into medical menopause without even being on medication, just because it was so shocked. So I go to my doctor that has been my doctor for 15 years. She knows me very well. We're talking and she's doing the ultrasound and she's already having the conversation with me. Okay, Renee, if it's a tumor, it's going to probably look kind of clustered and it's going to look like O. And I said, it's going to look like an O? Like it's going to be like an O shape? And she goes, and my doctor grabbed my leg and said, did you see that? I said, yeah. What is that? And she goes, it's a baby. And I said, whose? And she goes, yours. And I said, how? She's like, well, you know how, but you're pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm not. I can't be. And then she had me sit up to see, like, the machine is attached to me. And she goes, Renee, you're pregnant. And I'm like, no, like, you're sure? And so she's looking at it and she goes, oh my goodness. I said, what? She goes, you're 14 weeks. What? She goes, you're having a baby in 6 months. What? What? And it was the most confusing day of my life. I had to call all of my doctors and all of them were like, wait, what? Everybody. And then as soon as it settled in, they all said, we can't wait to see our baby. And everybody said Ava was theirs. So then became this quest of like, okay, what am I getting myself into? What is my health? How does my health impact this baby? And is she going to have any side effects because of what I've been through? And the beautiful part was that during my pregnancy, all of my chronic symptoms of like fibromyalgia and migraines and light sensitivity and eye issues, all of it disappeared. All of it. I had a beautiful pregnancy. It was easy. it was a full circle moment because I remember out of all the things that I wanted to feel, I knew that if I wanted to be a mom, I could go and adopt a kid and be a mom. But I wanted to feel pregnancy, you know? And out of all the things that I had mourned from the time that I was 18 until the time that I was 30 and I had my daughter, it was mourning that opportunity of that feeling, you know? And I remember bargaining with God, like, I'll do anything, anything. You just let me feel it one time, you know, and I got lucky. So as far as acute myeloid leukemia is concerned, I was in remission. Um, the chances of developing AML a second time were were there, but not as more of a not any more of a concern than developing a secondary cancer. And that was something that they had told me about from the very, very beginning, that the treatment that I have to have does cause other cancers, and that because of my, you know, my ethnicity, I'm already, you know, on the cusp of some of these other health issues like heart disease and, you know, diabetes, things like that. And so so the protocol was basically to continue monitoring me as if I still actively had cancer. Like I said, for the last 20 years, you know, we've been monitoring everything about my blood work, and really just been focusing on my immune system and my anemia and my labs, right? And, you know, kind of touch and go on other things. And there's been lumps and bumps throughout the years, but everything has been biopsied and, you know, perfectly fine. So, I was home and doing, you know, just a regular monthly, you know, check, and didn't feel anything different or strange. But I dropped something and I was about to get in the shower and I dropped something. And when I went to pick it up, I looked over and saw my reflection in the mirror again, reflection stuff, and noticed that one of my boobs was shaped kind of different when I leaned over. And so I thought, that's strange. And so I grabbed another mirror and kind of just did a couple little, like, you know, movements here, and then realized if I put my arm up, this whole breast was a totally different shape. Thought, that's different. So I noted it, and then like the following day, again, I'm getting dressed and I notice now there's like a weird dimple in my boob that wasn't there before. So I had a follow-up appointment with my same doctor, the one who told me I was pregnant, and you know, routine appointment with her, and we're finishing things up. And she tells me, "Is there anything else before we, you know, leave today?" And I get to walk out, and I said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, my boob looks kind of weird." And she goes, "What?" So she took a look at it and immediately sent me over to get a mammogram. And in the middle of getting the mammogram, the nurse left the room and then came back and said, "All right, you need to get dressed. We need to go to a different room because we need to do a biopsy." And I was like, "What? Right now?" She's like, "Yeah, right now." So then she took me to another room, set me up for a biopsy, did this whole biopsy, called the doctor, and then told me, I'm going to leave you here because I need to go take your results to the lab. Your doctor wants this stat. So I'm laying there with my arm up on this table for what feels like forever. And then she comes back and does two more biopsies and marks, you know, me up, and then says, "You have an appointment tomorrow with your doctor. You should bring somebody with you." And it was like, okay. And so when we got to the appointment, my mom came with me, and my doctor walked in and she didn't have to say anything. And she just started crying. And I was crying, and I said, "What is it?" And she goes, it's metastatic breast cancer. It's stage 2. And I said, well, how come I didn't feel anything? And she says, because you couldn't feel it. It's behind the breast tissue. It's along your rib cage, and it goes all the way to the back here. So again, it was a whirlwind, and, quickly into scheduling and trying to figure out, okay, what do we do now? I had to contact all of my bone marrow transplant doctors and let them know what was going on, and because it meant that we had to do completely different genetic testing because I had a bone marrow transplant. So it was a whole different ball game, for me. So it's a whole different skin genetic test thing. And luckily for me, we were able to determine that this breast cancer was in fact direct related to the leukemia stuff. That it's not genetically inherited. It was in direct relation to most likely the chemical burns and the doxorubicin and the total body radiation, which is weirdly comforting, in the sense that at least I know it's not genetic. It is a little frustrating to know that this is caused from what I had to have. And if I would have known then what I know now, would I change anything? No, not at all. If I would have known then that I would end up at 35 years old with stage 2 breast cancer, I still would do everything the same. So when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, it changed everything because I had so much chemotherapy given to me in 2002. There's only so much your body can maximum have. And I'm on like 8 doses out of 10. So what was really frustrating was that once we found out that it was metastatic breast cancer, the typical chemotherapy that's used to treat this type of cancer, I've already had a lot of. And we all decided that it would be in my best interest to do a different chemotherapy routine and hope that that works, and shelf the remaining doses available of, the heavy stuff, doxorubicin, just in case, and just try our luck. And so that's kind of how I walked into the second cancer. I think I processed this one better because I was awake. When I was going through leukemia stuff, I was so sick and so medicated and, comatose. So I really don't remember a lot. But then walking into this treatment brought back flashbacks that I was not expecting to have, and PTSD moments that I was not prepared to cope with. I had a unilateral mastectomy, so it means that I had just one breast removed, mostly because we needed to hurry up on time and get me started on treatment. So that meant hugging my daughter was different, and it changed. Those were things that I wasn't really expecting to deal with. Expecting to deal with hair loss, I knew that was coming. So I wasn't going to sit around and wait for my hair to fall out. I started cutting it. And then as soon as it got really, we shaved my head, and my daughter and I went and got henna tattoos, and I got one on my head and continued to get henna tattoos because from my previous experience, learned that wigs were not comfortable for me, and I didn't like the feeling of them. And it was hard to wear with all my masks and stuff. So as far as, being prepared and using some of what I had learned from the leukemia to help me with the breast cancer stuff. It was, the hair thing and, the food train and, that kind of stuff, and financial resources. But the emotional stuff I was not prepared for. Due to the timing of my, with my history and everything, we had to do surgery right away to eliminate the problem as much as we could physically, and then attack it with medicine was the plan. And so we rushed in and did a unilateral mastectomy and removed the entire left breast and my lymph nodes on the left arm. And then as soon as I was recovered from that, I started chemotherapy again, and I had to do, I think it was on Taxotere and Cytoxan. And then I had to do, I had to do home injections as well. And so it was paired with the chemotherapy. And that was for about 6 months. And then after that was finished, I had 6 rounds total of chemo. And then once that was finished, then I had radiation again. And it was targeted radiation to the chest and parts of my arm. And I had about 25 doses or sessions of radiation. And then started the process of healing. So in 2020, we did a scan to, check everything. There was markers in the right breast, but the findings weren't as aggressive as what we discovered in the left breast. And so when we did that scan, it revealed that I actually now would also need my thyroid removed, and that there was tumors there as well, and that it was just safer to remove the entire thyroid and not leave parts of it. So I had chemo and radiation again, a ton of surgery, and then only to find out that we got to go take something else. I've had no problems since then, and I've been on this long-term hormone anti-cancer regimen for the last couple of years, and I'm on it for a few more years. I think I get off in 2024. So then this past April, I was finally stable enough health-wise to have a finalized mastectomy and remove Bridey and have deep flap reconstructive surgery. Because of all my radiation and how much they had to remove from the chest wall, implants were not an option for me. So deep flap surgery is grafting, basically, and grafting different parts of either your back or your abdomen to make boobies. So they were able to graft my abdomen muscles and tissue and move that all up. And I'm almost done healing with that. And I have, a normal-ish looking body again. I don't have to wear, a prosthetic breast anymore, which that was a whole lane to walk down too. So at this point in time, things are stagnant, and that's a good thing. My health is stable. The treatments are, working. My blood looks great. Still anemic like usual, but everybody's acting right. It's mixed feelings, to be honest, because it's this basket of like hope and like, hey, I get to get on with my life again. But then on the other side of it, it's this, all right, what's the calm before the storm then? Is this the calm? Is there another storm? What's next? If we've removed parts that I can function life without, what do you come for next? I don't consider myself cancer-free. I consider myself a survivor, yes, but more than anything, I consider myself a thriver. And that's kind of where I associate myself with my health and the long term is thrive. Don't stop dreaming. I know it sounds so cliche, but make that vision board. Go do. If you focus on living in all ways, then you remove the stress and the fear and worry about always. I have plenty of days where they're down and all I can do is sit on the couch and I'm mopey. But I know that there will be coming a day where I have energy and I'm out there and I am living and I am touching and I am tasting different things and I am feeling the world, you know, and it's okay to have both days. But just because you've been diagnosed with cancer doesn't mean it's over. It's not over yet. You're not dead yet. My advice for anybody who is going through cancer, whatever stage you are in and whatever year in your journey you are in, may I remind you, you're still here. You are still thriving. Even if it was a hard day yesterday, you're here. And that is to be celebrated and enjoyed.